Let's go.
Okay, the time is 6:30. Welcome to our Poetry Town Council meeting for our beautiful town of Poetry, Texas on this Thursday, October 17, 2024. We welcome you and want you to feel heard, valued, informed, and connected to your town and its council. We welcome diversity of opinion and want minority views as well as majority views to be heard. We also appreciate mutual respect despite opposing views. Your opinions, suggestions, and comments in favor of or against a topic are welcome. However, this town council meeting is not the time to ask questions or for interrogations. We encourage anyone having questions to come either talk to us at a break or after the meeting to email or schedule a meeting with us. At this time, I need to remind the public that a disruption of this meeting may be considered a criminal offense according to Texas Penal Code 3813 and 4205. You must be signed up to speak during the meeting and stay on topic according to state law. To preserve the order and decorum of the meeting, any person who makes profane, slanderous, threatening remarks or becomes disruptive during the meeting will be asked to leave or may be escorted out by a peace officer and given a citation. Secretary Ann Hamilton is sick tonight, so in her place we have a volunteer clerk, Robin Bowles, to take roll call.
I'm going to go here because you probably can't hear me tonight. Okay, I have Councilmember Samia White.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Jeffy.
Here.
Councilmember Tom Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember, Jonathan Blake.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Fowler,
Here.
and Mayor Tara Singovich.
Here.
Okay.
And thank you, Robin. And Robin just is post-surgery, so it's a little out of breath. Thank you, Robin, for stepping up. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Councilmember Simeon White is working the Hurricane Helene area in eastern Georgia, so that's why he is on video. So since you can see and hear him, he can still vote tonight, just so you know. All right, so we have Pastor Paul Jacobs from Poetry Baptist Church. So if you'll rise, he's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. And Father, I just know that you desire great things from your people. And you have ordained the church, and you've ordained the home, and you've ordained the state to carry out your work and carry out your will. And so, Father, I cannot imagine a church not being led by Christ, nor could I imagine a home where Christ is not preeminent. Likewise, Lord, we know that your word should prevail in any public meeting having to do with the matters of the state and the county and the city. And so, Lord, I just pray that your perfect will would preside tonight, that you would bless each participant, and we'll thank you for all that you do. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor. So appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. Okay, so under items of community interest, we have this Friday, so that's tomorrow, and Saturday, our cleanup day. So there are some flyers going around, and so if you've seen this flyer, so we have right out there 2 dumpsters free of charge. So citizens can take advantage of that. They can clean out things that need to be cleaned out, or we're trying to encourage folks to clean up maybe a half a mile of an area. We're trying to focus on FM 1565 and CR 2426, which is the road by the Springs Event Center. So we haven't emphasized those to date. We've had several of these in the fall and spring. So we encourage you to make it a family event and get a trash bag. We do have trash bags here. We do have orange vests here. So I can provide those for you, and now those grapple things are awful nice too. So we just encourage folks to get out and it's been beautiful weather and to make it a family event. And if you can, and this list also contains things which aren't allowed, maybe large appliances, paints, lacquers, inks, resins, asbestos, industrial materials, no tires, batteries, motor oils, or railroad ties. And then it goes on, but so just encourage you to get out and do that. Thank you. So moving on to reports, we have the September end. So the we've got a starting balance of $144,419.98. Deposits made were $14,030.17. We did get our franchise Encore franchise fees and our sales and use tax revenue in that. We had withdrawals of $2,062.88 and checks paid of $1189.14. So that leaves our ending balance at $155,198.13.
What was brought to my attention, there's some other checks that are still outstanding that might be put on here for PR refunds that was overcharged. If we're tracking 5-cent return checks on ABC, we probably need to get some of those PR checks that haven't been applied.
Well, we have a lot of outstanding checks all the time. This one was specifically requested because these are outstanding in like 2 years, and we're required by law to do a 3-year on this. We are not showing every time we do.
So there's other checks that's outstanding on this balance?
Yeah, anyone who does bookkeeping knows, you always have some.
So we have outstanding checks too? Okay.
Pretty much always do.
Thank you.
All right, so sales and use tax revenue report, we have the September amount was $9,517.29. We have the road fund balance is over the $100,000 mark. It's $100,504.08. Our general fund balance at $54,694.05. So that matches our bank balance at $155,198.13. Okay, so we had a fella in town who started Fletcher Lawn and Landscaping. So since he was local, I let him give us a quote on what he might charge for doing the town hall lawn care, and it came in quite a bit of savings. So I felt like when we first hired Waldo, one of the prerequisites that he wasn't allergic to poison ivy, because his lot when we first started had a lot of poison ivy. So now it's cleaned up and it's a lot easier now. He is a poetry citizen who cares, and since he is a poetry citizen and it's a much better deal, I didn't think anyone would object to us trying to, the season's kind of winding down, but for the new year.
Is it per mow or per month? It's
per mow.
per mow.
Well, it's mow, weed, blowing, edging.
And what are we currently paying?
We're currently paying $130
Per mow?
per mow,
Okay.
weed, all that. But again, when he first started, it was pretty rough. There was like vines this big of poison ivy, like everywhere. So it's gotten a lot better. He's done a good job, but the local guy is a certain amount of savings, so that's really, really nice. Okay, Secretary's report. Are you up to reading that or no? Is there a council member who might read that? You want to go ahead and read that, Mr. Blake?
Oh, sure.
Be okay? Okay.
Grab your family and trash bag and let's clean up poetry in the community-wide fall cleanup. This Friday and Saturday, we will have free dumpsters provided to the town by Black Jack Disposal, located here at the Town Hall parking lot. We will focus on County Road 2426 by the Event Center and FM 1565. See the flyer for a list of items allowed and not allowed. A big focus this month went to updating the poetry website with outstanding with outstanding town ordinances and resolutions. This, of course, will be an ongoing effort to maintain and keep current. Secretary Teresa is recovered from a rather painful surgery, and we will her well and pray for a speedy recovery. The skirting around the town hall has been completed. Now that the weather is beginning to get cooler, we should be able to work on the final exterior painting of our building. And I don't know who authored this. It says from Ann and Teresa.
Thank you. Sorry, I know that was on the fly there. Thank you. So moving on to the consent agenda. We have the minutes from September 19th meeting, 2024.
Can we move those to the regular agenda, please? I have a couple questions.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay, we'll move that, and then we'll make that item A on the regular agenda. Okay. Item 2, this approve the September legal bill of $1,055.75. All those in favor? Is there a motion to that one?
I guess I would point out, I think we need to note that $877 of it was for the lawsuit.
So the bulk of that, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's noted in the agenda.
I know, I just wanted to make it again.
Okay, so it'd be like $200 without that,
And
yeah.
that'll be in the minutes.
Okay. All right. So is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, so, and who's second? Okay, we have a motion by Blake, seconded by Anderson to approve the September legal bill of $1,055.75. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 3, we talked about this on the budget, but we didn't actually approve it yet. The LBJ fire lane at Town Hall quote for $21.90. He gave us a super great deal. He discounted $1,684 of his labor, I believe is what it is. So that's for out here, the 406 square feet of the concrete it's a 14-foot by 29-foot with half-inch rebar and 18 inches on the center, 7 inches of concrete and a broom finish so that it will withstand for fire lane. So is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Blake, second by Anderson to approve this quote, $21.90. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, and the Texas Municipal League, and I apologize somehow. Did you all get that one?
Nope.
All right, well, here it is. It's a bill.
Pass it around.
It's a bill, and $48.58.84 for the annual premium, and that includes the town insurance, the building insurance, workman's comp,
And that gets us up,
cyber insurance that went up quite a bit,
gets us up to time.
and it gets the time. So when we first got insurance, we had to start in May, and now the fiscal year starts October 1st, so we finally are in sync with the fiscal year.
So it's a 12-month bill?
Yes. Yes.
What was it last year, Charlie? Do we know?
It's gone up a lot, 60% or something. It wasn't that much, but like
And there's
everything else.
There's some added months in this to get us up to the.
I just wonder on an annual basis, what was it? It was something
It
less.
was quite a bit less.
Mhm.
I don't have that figure in front of me, so. Is there a motion to
I'll
approve?
make a motion, we approve the Texas Municipal League
Okay.
municipal insurance.
We have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake to approve our insurance annual premium bill. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, item A then will be the minutes. And on the regular agenda. And what was your comment?
Okay, so towards the back, number 11, if we recall the discussion about the ratifying the zoning ordinance, I remember you, Tara, leading with something to the effect, the attorney said we can only discuss this if we go into an executive session. And to me, it reads more like Terry and I just randomly said we wanted to have an executive session, but I'm I would make the point, I think you offered that that was the way we could do it, and then that turned into a vote, and it got voted down, and we moved on. But I would like to capture the fact that, you know, the attorney advised us that any discussion needed to occur in an executive session, and then we voted on whether to have one, and we were outvoted, so we didn't have one.
Okay, that seems reasonable. Okay,
Other than that,
I got a couple of typos
okay,
on page 5, under item 8. The last line in the first paragraph where it said was agreed upon should be agreed upon.
okay, number 8,
Yes.
where is it?
The last line
Yeah.
in the first paragraph,
right before the bullet
Oh,
list.
okay, it
should
was
be
agreed.
agreed.
Okay, got it.
And then over on item 13, where it says the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down, 8 down, on down to the project expected to be added to the court docket. I think it should mean the commissioner's court docket, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we can specify that, that would be more clarifying.
Well, since we have a lawsuit going on.
Yeah.
It's right.
It's part of the lawsuit, it's not part of the lawsuit.
Right, it's commissioner's court.
Okay. All right, now that's a valid one, okay. All right, so those 3 edits, anything else?
Motion to approve the edits.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jaffe, seconded by Blake to approve the minutes of the last month's meeting with the 3 edits as discussed. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, so moving on to item number 2 is the Hunt County H-17.
Bishop Clerk.
Oh, wait a minute.
Item 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Okay, item 1, update on prospective Bishop Airfield LLC, the MUD. So we have Miss Rankin here, Judge Rankin's wife Stephanie here to kind of give us an update on that cause. So, go ahead.
We've actually, since the last time I was here, have accomplished a few things. We were just getting started the last time I was here, and we're trying to get organized before we got a lot of people involved. But this is where we're at right now. We have accomplished in getting the website created and published, and so it is out there. It is www.bishopsfieldmudfight.org. And we have some general information on it now. What is a MUD? How can you help? How to get to the complaint page for TCEQ. We don't have a lot of information as far as exactly how this development will be built, other than the fact that they will be tapping into the Nakatosh Aquifer and providing a community well to provide for this community of 20, the application says 2,500 homes. And then they will also be building a micro wastewater treatment plant, which according to the application is going to be placed where there's really nobody around. Unfortunately, that isn't true, and some of that has to be addressed. So getting some of these things in place first before we start having meetings with TCEQ is really important. We also have a Facebook page established. All of those links are on the website as well. And also, and I'm not sure if I said this the last time we did the update, but our county judge and Hunt County commissioners also wrote a letter to TCEQ opposing this subdivision. When I talked to Commissioner Mark Hutchin, he also said that he would like to be able to, when time comes, to actually sit down with this developer and talk to him. since we've started all of this, gathering information has been really, really important. I've learned more about water and muds than I ever really wanted to know. But hopefully, where the City of Poetry had started to talk with this developer, perhaps, we can convince them to alter their plan a little bit. I don't think we're going to get them shut down, but you never know. There's a few things that, let me see here, where am I? The document that was sent out there were 7 people that they said would be affected by this subdivision. It's a 152-page application document. There's a lot of holes in it. Since they're fairly early in the process of getting their permit, TCEQ is trying to get them to catch up. They sent out a letter to them that's in that packet that has stated that a lot more people are affected and that they need to be also notified. We haven't seen any of that yet, and we certainly haven't seen the links on the website to show that they have accomplished that. But that is something that we're going to, I believe that we should press on to try to convince them to be open and aboard with all of that information. Our small group has gone through that 152-page document. One of the things at our first meeting that Representative Jill Dutton had said is that we have to have at least 200 complaints for TCEQ to even do a community meeting with us. And so really, as of yesterday, I think we had 175 complaints filed with TCEQ. We're short of the mark by far. And honestly, it would be a lot better if we had 500, even 1,000. There is plenty of people in this community just right around that subdivision that will be affected by this wastewater treatment plant. Our Sid Miller, who is the Ag Water, actually I don't have his title right in front of me, but he has been campaigning all over the state about how the state of Texas is going to run out of water, I believe by 2035, with all of the rapid growth that's going on in the state. We haven't had time to put in extra water sources. And obviously the communities aren't prepared to deal with the onslaught of people, and our roads aren't going to handle it as well. One of the things that we did in our research is that it is to combat this kind of a development is that we should ask our commissioners, the Hunt County commissioners, to do a, let me see if I can get the right language here. A community impact study. That community impact study would research the insufficient schools, the emergency services, the road issues, just for a few of those things, and be able to address them with the developer themselves. Anybody who lives in the area knows that 2434, 1565, the entire area is not ready for that many houses. And they haven't even begun to deal with the flooding issues. We are still actually working on contacting the bigger guns that we have, the better opportunities we are going to fight this. One of the things that we posted on our Facebook page is that the County of Rockwall is suing Mud Number 10, which I believe is across from the High Point Ranch on 548. And part of that mud that was put in was they had installed one person into that mud, and he, as one person, voted the board into place, and that the mud was established altogether. Mud boards can be very nefarious. The reasons that a mud exists, the reasons why the state created the mud ability is being exploited. And if they're used correctly in conjunction with the growth of the community, they can be fine. But our developers are looking at them as money makers. The article that was put out and the one we had posted, that particular developer has the opportunity to put in bonds that won't just be taxes that are paid within the community itself. It will be put out and paid for by even more of that county. And that's one of the reasons why they're suing him. The article is quite good, so if you get a chance, go to our the Facebook page and read that article. It's put out by the Spotlight, Resolution Spotlight is the...
Is that the one that Judge Noon wrote?
Yes.
It was very good.
Yeah, it was a very good article. At the moment, that's where we're at. The next, that's what has been done so far. We had taken money up from the, during the first meeting, and we got 30 signs created, and those are out also right now. Although the windstorm that we had the other day, a few of them have disappeared into Kansas somewhere. But we have made the artwork available on the website as well, so if anybody wants to make more signs and get them put up, if they want to make banners, the PDFs are there. All you have to do is download them and take them to whatever printer you want, and you're welcome to do that. Those are all free, for anybody's use. The next step is to get a little bit more organized as far as how we want to proceed from here, and we would like to do a larger community meeting. So we are looking for a time and a space in which to gather more citizens, because what we're finding is that although people might generally know about this development going in, they don't really think it's going to affect them. And those people who do think it's going to affect them or are worried about what it's going to be like, they don't have enough information, and they don't. Everybody's busy with their lives, but what I know that it might be easier to get more complaints lodged and recorded with TCEQ if we sit down and help people do that. So that's one of the goals at the next community meeting is to get as many people to file their complaint as possible. Leanne Moore has created a sample complaint. If somebody's having a hard time knowing what to write in the complaint, because that's the other thing that they were talking about. You can down or copy and paste this right into the file and put the complaint in that way. But pretty much that's where we're at right at the moment. We have had a couple of citizens who are very good writers and very intelligent be able to pull apart that application and have written TCEQ directly, and we probably could use more of that. But that's where we're standing right now.
Any word on I think the big billboard space? Someone had suggested renting.
It hasn't been pursued since we've really been scrambling just to get this far, to get everything up and running to this place. I do believe that once we set the event for the community event, the billboard will be very, very important. I think, and we've had some comments over the yard signs, is that they're small, and the QR code, a lot of people are having a hard time figuring out the QR code.
We might, just an idea, we might go with like a larger sign, 4x6 or something.
We really need some banners. We really need, banners put out in strategic locations. But so far, we haven't. had that
So,
opportunity.
Tom, did you want to speak to this?
Yeah,
So, Tom's a retired chemical engineer, still licensed, and he came up with a very, very intriguing angle, and I thought it was very pertinent. So, and he did file, he's filed now too. But did you want to go ahead?
it's basically that the best we can tell, they had underground aviation fuel storage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the RCRA laws, that's the Resource Conservation Recovery Act, it's RCRA called RCRA, that they require, particularly if there's housing, they require sampling throughout the area, because if there's leaks in a tank, and aviation fuel can either be turbine fuel like kerosene, or it can be gasoline. If it's gasoline, and at the time they were built, it can have lead in it. And if there's leaks, the leaks with our type of soil, it will go through the sand and stop it when it gets to a clay. And so, because we have more of a marble type of soil in this area, just because you can't just check beneath the tank, you have to check in a wide area, and they do that by drilling. There's companies, it's in housing by the lenders. No lender will lend money until something like this has been done. So, and apparently they are going to be borrowing money. They're not spending it out of their own pocket. If they were putting in a parking lot, you could probably get away with not doing anything. But particularly housing, it is critical. And it's all started back in the 70s and 80s with the Love Canal incident up in near Buffalo, New York, where there was a major spill. It got into the groundwater. They built, got in the soil. They built housing above it. People started getting cancer, dying. It's just an enormous lawsuit, a lot of litigation that went on for years. Finally, the EPA went in and just tore out everything. They had to go down several hundred feet, rip out the soil. But then that started these RCRA laws, so that now today, and I know because I've worked on litigation assignments, today, if there's housing involved, they have to do the soil, and RCRA applies to soil, it doesn't apply to air. They have to do these soil tests in a pretty broad area, not just below the tank, but they have to do a sample, and there's the companies that do it know what the law is, how far you have to go out and where you got to drill, but you got to drill down and see and get the soil samples and check, and no lender will touch it until that's done. So my thinking is that, and this is my complaint. I've written 2 complaints. This is the second one of the 2. Is that needs to be actually done because of the housing. If it wasn't housing, it wouldn't be important. An airfield is not, but because this goes back to the days when actually they had aviation gasoline had lead in it, tetrafluoride lead. That if it leaked and got in there, even though it may be not leaking now, it could have leaked years ago and then been fixed. No lender, I think this is another angle to go to the lenders or let lenders know this has underground, as far as we can tell, has underground aviation storage, fuel storage. And so they are required by law to do these testing all around there. Now, the person up the road, you'll probably say, oh no, it hasn't leaked. Well, just because it's not leaking now doesn't mean it didn't leak 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
Well, since it's not continuing on as an airport, I mean, it really needs to be addressed anyway.
Well, absolutely. But you can't just say, well, we checked underneath the tank and there's no oil and no leak. That's not valid because it's been there a long time. Leaks can be fixed, plugged, everything. And leaks could have occurred back in the days when aviation gasoline was there, which back in the 70s it still had lead in it, took up the lead. And this was, I believe, built in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
that area. So anyway, that's my other complaint, the second one, which is you can't move forward with this, as far as I know legally. No lender, if the lender's aware of this, a lender's not going to approve any kind of loan, whether it's a government loan or a private loan. Lenders have to know that because they know what happened with the Love Canal. That cost, you know.
Was it a super fund issue where they
And
had
that
to?
one was totally,
Well-
it totally had to be eradicated in 2004.
but it just about
Okay.
bankrupted the super fund. And then they had a second super fund at Sykes Field down in a landfill down near Houston, and that pretty well drained the super fund. So same thing, very similar thing. So anyway, even though the super fund actually did a lot of the cleanup, there was enormous lawsuits. In fact, one of the companies that I did work for, I mean, it took them 30 years to come out to pay off all of the money from the lawsuits they were under. So the super fund doesn't cover everything. There's still lawsuits that happen. So that's why lenders will not, particularly, they will not touch something without having, the record type of testing that is throughout the area, not just directly underneath the tank. So anyway, that's my second complaint. Haven't heard back with it from them, of course, but if we have a public hearing or have anywhere that we can go talk to the TCEQ as well as the lenders, if you hear about the lenders, we need to know who they are. They need to be alerted as well, because they probably don't realize this.
Well, one of the things that we have noticed about when you have low-income housing, we don't exactly know what housing is put in here. We suspect, based upon some of the evidence, that the housing is going to be very similar to that housing project, the Wildwood housing project over on Poetry
Smaller
Road.
lots.
So they're smaller lots, smaller houses, smaller lending amounts. The problem with MUDs and the problem with what's being exploited now is that they bring people in with these smaller loan amounts, and they have to put, because most of them don't have great credit to start with, some of these lenders that come in can be predatory. So they will come in, they will take their large, downs, whatever they can come up with for a down. They charge a higher interest rate, even that, a lot of people have to buy a home. They get them into the house, then a couple of things happen. And then they have this extra fee that's not just an HOA fee, it is the HUD fee that they have to pay because the taxes in a MUD are higher than what most of us pay. So they have this extra tax. By the time they get done with their first year, they no longer can afford their house payment. And so they went down to evicting people. We already do a lot of convictions in South Hunt County anyway, but with this subdivision and others, if other ones go in like this, it's just going to grow. So the lenders, it's going to be hard to preempt that, to try to stop that ahead of time. But it might be something we might be able to write a letter to the AG's office and see, because obviously this is not just our issue, it's an issue that we're seeing throughout the state.
It's required. It isn't optional, and lenders won't touch it without it, but it is required.
If they know about it.
If there is any kind of potential hazardous waste underneath it, they have to come in and do the soil testing.
That's true. But we already know this guy's trying to sneak a lot of things through without anybody knowing.
Well, I've worked a lot of cases on this, even acquisitions. Lenders won't touch it without having this proper soil testing.
In the application, I didn't see anything where it said it had
They don't even mention the airfield.
the airfield.
No.
They don't mention it at
The
all.
oil,
Yeah, I read through it, but
the
I didn't
still
see
things.
anything. So but it is in the name, and that,
but of course they wouldn't.
yeah.
And they'll assume, most people don't know that they've got underground fuel storage.
Fuel storage.
in the US.
And the reality is that it could be, maybe nothing, but you can't move forward without having all of the proper record tests, soil tests.
I looked it up, Tom, just to make sure I wasn't speaking out of turn, but aviation gas has always contained lead. It still does. In fact, to run unleaded in an airplane, you have to get an STC, and you
Okay.
can only do that in little airplanes, so they have never stopped putting lead in aviation gas.
It stopped in cars back in the 80s.
That's correct, but it is
Yeah.
still in
It's
avgas.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's,
There we go.
yeah.
It's a-
Even if they filled those tanks up last week, they had lead in them, so.
And lead clearly is a hazardous waste.
I think there's several places that we can we can do this. Our commissioners, although they can't stop a mud, they're not allowed, to get involved in stopping the mud creation. There are things that they can do in terms of the approving of phases. There's things like the road adoptions. There's things that our commissioners can be involved in. So although sometimes it can cause a lot of fuss, I think that it's important to get them involved, which is like the community impact study, I think is very, very important.
Well, I know how busy our commissioners are. Is that something that a commissioner has to do, or is it something that
He can order it
he
done.
can order it? Because they're so
They can't
busy.
do it themselves. They really can't. They don't have time for that. And right now we're having this election, our general election's coming up November 5th. I know that the community meeting, when we've all talked about it, when we schedule it, will be after the general election. So we're looking at least 2 weeks out. Probably 3.
Okay.
So a small portion of this is in Rockwall County. Did you know that?
A small portion of the
development.
development, yes.
So I like your steps moving forward, but I would think if there's going to be a community, what'd you call it, an impact study, I think Rockwall could be included in that too. They're already fighting the one with Wildwood, but Portrait Road, which is in Rockwall County, and Munson coming in are both going to be affected by that development too. So if they're willing, I would definitely twist their ear as well as the Hunt County commissioners.
To be honestly, I haven't even talked to the Rockwall Commission commissioners yet, but yes, I agree with you on that. I didn't even think about that.
It's just a small portion, but it
Yes.
affects their roads and it's in their county, which gives them a little bit of power.
There was a right-of-way lawsuit that went in. There is, let me look at my phone because it's right on my phone. It is the Shaws who live, I believe, off of Poetry Road.
So this is the Rockwall County line. So show me what part are you saying? And that's Hunt County. That's Rockwall.
Looking on the CAD map, it clearly extends over the line.
This extends over the Rockwall line.
Oh, maybe down at the bottom there on the left,
Yeah.
but that's
There's a
not
gap
exactly
there.
right.
This is this is actually the Kimley Horn engineering
I mean,
map.
it's clearly shown on the
Is
CAD
it?
map.
Okay, I've been looking at the Kimley Horn map for so long.
Well,
That
That
dotted
one
line
right-
right there,
This right here?
that dotted line,
Uh-huh.
that triangle continues, and that's on the
Oh, it
Rockwall County
continues
side.
here,
Yeah.
so it jets down in there.
You know what? They might have been avoiding that. They may not actually be planning on building
And
in that.
they possibly may not.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe so.
It shows
It's
it
stay in one county.
Yeah, it shows it
Okay.
extending over
But
Redwood Creek.
their ownership of the land actually
I
falls.
was gonna
into-
say, that's an inaccurate survey, right? Because
But to her point, the community
Well, it's a
impact.
survey
could
of the
still-
mud,
They're saying that's what they're
not
gonna
the
do.
property, yeah.
Okay.
okay.
So if the mud's gonna stay only in Hunt County, then maybe,
If I was them, I would
yeah,
stay
that would
there.
make sense. Okay, so Stephanie, thank you so much, and
You're very
we will be looking for that larger meeting, and then we can hopefully disseminate that information or help do that anyway. Just let us know, and
Yeah, thanks for doing it.
You're very, I mean, we need more people. I mean, we were just a small group just trying to get it organized, but we definitely need more of an army to work on this
well, it
thing.
sounds like we need at least 26 more complaints to get it pushed
We
over the
absolutely
200
do.
mark. So,
We absolutely
okay,
do.
so everyone, yes.
That, the lawsuit they were talking about is Carol Shaw versus Bishop's Airfield. Bishop sold them a piece of land for their house. It was like a 2-acre piece of land for their house. And they allowed Bishop to use, there was an old farm road that went through the property, and Bishop used that to get to the cows on the backside of the property. Mr. Eckenrode tried to take that as a permanent right-of-way. And so that was what that lawsuit is. Right now, I believe they have won their appeal, but I don't know what the current state of all of that is.
Do you know where on this map that
I don't know exactly where that is. We haven't had a chance to go over and talk to the Shaws.
Probably on
Is that the one, because there is the half a mile, that goes into 2440. So there's this one right here.
It may be that.
But that one, it's like exactly half an acre, and it just jets out into 2440 as an access.
That very well could be where it's at. That very well could be where it's at. I know that Clay, when he was campaigning for judge, talked with all of those people back in there, and I believe he met them. And it was a story that we originally talked about, and when we found out that they were in the middle of that lawsuit, and had a lot to do with that. I don't know how they're going to get all the trucks, because I know they were talking about bringing a lot of their construction trucks up Poetry and then going in that back way.
Well, there's two bridges that are woefully inadequate for that kind of deal.
It
So.
very much is.
Well, and
Thank you for the update.
Yeah, no, I did ask Judge Stovall and Commissioner Monroe if they had been apprised of any of the Kimley Horn plans. They have on there, not on this map, they have another one that shows, let's see if I can see it, shows they want to put 2 stoplights in, and he said they haven't consulted them at all, so they have not done that. So they have 3 or 4 that we have.
When Jill talked to TCEQ, they're just in their very early stages of engineering for all of this. Although they have enough of it to show where all of the well locations will be and where the wastewater treatment plant will be. If you look at one of the images that they have of where they're placing the wastewater treatment plant, it goes right behind Gabe Defoe. I can't remember how to say her last name. She lives on 2469 behind us, and her property backs up to right where the wastewater treatment plant will be. And there's some question as to whether the setbacks are correct. They have said that they only needed, I think it was like 150 feet of setback. But I believe because it's a residence and not commercial, that it needs to be like 500 feet. We definitely have some fighting room. I think that the facility they're putting in, the effluent pipe is supposed to be a gravity pipe. We know that creek floods every spring. Every spring it floods, and this year it flooded really very, very badly. But the pictures they took show that it was just within the banks of the creek, and it was all really great.
Yeah. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. They don't. Oh, and there's nobody who lives around here. It's all wilderness.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Okay. There's no person signed up for that. Okay. Any council comments? All right. So moving on to number 2. So Commissioner Monroe and Aaron, his helper, got back with me just today. There's a lot of sides that need to be handled on these roads, so it's $4,500 is his estimate on these 6 roads for repair. So,
It's 4,500.
yes, so it's CR 2458, 2434, 2432, 2426, 2326, and 2400.
What's the number again, 54?
4,500 for Hunt County Project Sheet H17.
I guess one of the things I'd say is for, that's all under B, it says material, equipment, and labor. Actually, it's fuel and materials. Hunt County, by our ILA, we don't pay for labor or equipment, only fuel and materials.
So I need to edit that, you're
Yeah,
right.
but we typed that in, that's not them, so we'll change it.
Well, I can change it, so labor and equipment for completion, but then,
It should be fuel and material.
Right.
um,
Fuel materials is $4,500.
Or did you just say labor and equipment for completion, no charge or something, just to make it clear?
material, fuel. It's actually, original form was actually Kaufman's, I mean, Richard Lee, so.
Well, yeah,
material,
there that
fuel.
would be correct.
Okay, so material and fuel to be used on this project, labor and equipment for completion, no charge. So when I submit that, I usually have a check and I submit it to them, I can modify that. That's a good point, thank you for that. Is there a motion?
Any public?
There is not.
Motion to approve with edits.
Okay.
Second.
Okay,
I make a motion, we accept this,
I think there's a motion on the floor already.
He said it.
oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
he beat you to it.
I'll second.
There's already a
We're all
second.
excited.
Okay,
I got the second.
We're
You're
all-
out.
So we have a motion by Blake, seconded by Jaffe. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. All right, going to number 3. This one is vote on the town hall shutter / trim paint colors, white, black, gray, or other. Since it was gonna potentially be a change, I thought it'd just be best to get it out and open here. So, I think currently it is actually gray. It's not really white. It's a very light gray that's on the shutters. And I think it's this one. So I didn't print out a bunch of these because it's lightning. But this is currently, it's a very light gray on there. Someone had suggested a darker gray, okay? Or black is kind of all the rage right now. A lot of folks are saying black. I think both the secretaries like the black. And then this is actually a mahogany. I guess if you're,
Well, my vote was for the mahogany.
I wonder why. And I think someone mentioned that's a color of a team, an A&M.
No.
No. Anyway, so I don't know if there's any, I know that this isn't hugely that important, but I thought we'd just bring it up. So there's no citizen comments, any discussion among council,
I was in favor of the black.
Yeah, dark gray or black would be good.
Yeah.
something that shows out more.
Yeah.
Is there,
Do we have to vote on it?
Yeah.
Oh, we have to vote on it. huh?
so, all right, so who's in favor of, okay, so you didn't say the light gray, that's what's currently on there.
No, I
People
think
think it's
something
white.
towards black, either
And I
all
think-
the way
yeah.
black or almost black because it's so dark or gray, so it's a contrast.
Okay, so currently, it was kind of that way originally because the church was white on white, and there was kind of blend with that. But, so, any other comments? So we have a darker gray or a
We got a
black.
black rail fence.
We have a black blue fence, and I think, the painter just told me today, yeah, they actually power washed yesterday, and kudos to them. They actually power washed our gutters for us, that was a gift, that was so nice. But he bought the paint for the rail, and he said, hey, I can use the same paint for the shutters if your council votes to do that. So he already has the paint apparently. But it's darker gray or there's black.
Sure.
Motion for black.
Is there a cost for this?
No, they're doing it free of charge. They repaired all the cracks, and you couldn't even tell. They did such a good job. They repaired all the cracks inside, painted it all, and I could just smell it. I couldn't really see it, but they did all that, and yeah, there's no charge. It's
Wow.
Brett Patterson, Ace Decor, Ace Paint Decor, so he's been very supportive.
And I'm fine with black, I think the trim
Is that
is
okay?
nice. Yeah.
All right,
I might
so
go.
do you have a preference on whether it is, I think, whether it is just the shutters or it's the shutters and the trim?
I would say
Shutters
shutters.
and trim. I like.
You like the shutters and the trim?
Yeah.
Any preference, guys?
That's fine. We'll do
Okay,
that.
all right, okay.
Next item.
Okay, so it sounds like we have a majority for the black. Is everyone okay with that? Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right. I've heard that there's church splits over carpet, so I thought we'd just go over the shutters. All right, number 4. Town of Poetry flag ideas. So, I think in the packet we had, other cities have their flag. We've been around 4 years now. It wasn't the highest priority in my book, but it is something that some people are interested in. And so these are just kind of ideas. The 5 stripes, if you're wondering, was for 5 council members. I didn't do this, but the 5 stripes is
this
for
is
council
my
members.
idea.
And
I took from
Councilmember
the,
Blake had an idea.
I like the
here.
Sunnyvale one. Of course, these colors would be our they're not right here on the printout, but that is just a rough.
Well, let the camera see it. I think that's kind of nice.
The camera, where's that?
The
Oh,
camera.
oh, the camera. I don't even
That's
think about
kinda nice.
the camera, so.
And Simeon, can you see that? Can you see it?
I've got that stuff pulled up on my computer. I'm good.
Oh,
Okay.
you don't have that one?
This is Blake's.
Oh,
This is, so he just changed it where it's a green stripe at the bottom, white stripe on the top, and then purple.
Like a
is the
Texas
seal.
flag, you know.
But we could have a citizen contest. There's
Okay,
probably
good.
some illustrators and artists on this that can do a great job, but Secretary Ann was thinking we could sell little flags and have a fundraiser so we could buy the flagpole. You know, because we obviously would need another flagpole.
Oh, I marked 1A. I kind of like that one. Just plain and
There you
simple.
go. I like Blake's too. Any comments on that?
Why don't you- Can you put that on the form and have people vote
Yeah,
on it?
let
Maybe,
people,
well, the form they can't participate, but, do you want,
How do we get a survey from them?
well, that is a challenge. I did one through the Poetry Post and it did not, I think I got 6 responses. So the surveys don't necessarily, I guess we could put it on social media maybe. What do you guys think of that?
nice to get some citizen input. We have some
Yeah,
artists.
yeah, there's
Very
no one
creative.
speaking on that. We have some artists among us and it is, it's, I do like, in fact, I might take a picture of that one. I like Blake's.
You
I
can
think
have
that's
it.
nice. You want me to have it?
You can just have it. You can have Lauren do it right if you want.
That's
I
nice.
guess I would say I like that in a flag.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm generally more simple, so that's 1A.
Yeah,
I thought it was a simple one, but
it is simple.
I'm
Yeah.
easy.
All right, not a lot of talk from our council on this, but do you fellas, what do you think? Just, put it out there on,
Yeah, it's-
Social
it's-
media,
I'm like
maybe?
you, it's not a priority to me, so I don't.
yeah.
I like the American flag, but someday we have a town flag, that's fine, but I put it out there, let the citizens
Okay,
get creative with it.
all right. I can do that and then we'll see what they come up with. All right, moving on then to number 5. After the sobering thing about the mud, it's nice to do some light things. We're back to kind of a heavy thing. So I sent you the picture in the packet. So when we had the huge trees on 249 at all over residents, their fence was damaged. I met him out there, this Waldo, out last Friday. We discussed it. He actually, the holdup was, this happened in July, he ordered 4 times. He gave the fence company the measurements, he gave them pictures. 4 times he ordered with them, and 4 times he got the wrong panel. So what he surmised though, that this is actually a custom job, and after talking with the owner, she said that it was there before when they moved in. And so it's not aluminum at all. It is heavy metal, and it was probably a custom job, and that's why he couldn't find a panel. So he stayed late Monday night with another welder friend. Here is a picture of the finished job.
Oh.
And so they did finish it finally Monday night, and then this is the panel right next to it. So you can see the fence has been there for a number of years. So some of the finials at the top are damaged. This is the one, so this is kind of the one right next to it. This is his repair job. So he did work really hard. They had to cut it and weld it, and it was a long, arduous process. But I did check with the owner. She's out in California right now, so she has not seen it, but I did ask her to get back with me and let me know what she thinks.
That looks like a good job.
So, okay, there we are. I don't have any citizen comments on this one. Okay, so number 6, owing to his change of vocation, out-of-state work, moving co-signatory and accountability on municipal bank account from Councilmember White to Mayor Pro Tem Blake. Councilmember Anderson has been so attentive. He's local. He's been very, very good about, hey, I've got a couple checks to sign, and he's like, yeah, he's usually there within an hour or two. He's very, very good about that. But on occasion, Simeon's had to sign, but now that he is all over the country working as an adjuster, and there's plenty of storms for him to have job security, I did discuss that with him prior to both of them. So we need to officially vote on that for that to happen. So, and then we'd have to take the signatory, you have to go to the bank, sign all the papers.
I think all of us have to go.
Probably all three of us would have to go. I don't know about Simeon, next time you're in town. I'll check with the bank on that, but we wouldn't, any comments on that? Okay,
Just let me know when.
is there a motion? We need a motion.
Make a motion for Mr. Blake to replace Mr. White for signing the checks.
Okay, it's a co-signatory. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously, okay? Number 7, setting the date for the volunteer appreciation. This was something that Secretary Ann, it was kind of her idea. She just thought that, look, you guys have all these volunteers, and I talked to a few of our volunteers and like, look, we don't need a plaque, we don't need nothing, just feed us barbecue. So I'm like, well, that's probably a good idea. It might be kind of fun to say, hey, we appreciate you. So I looked on our logbook, which we have to keep our volunteer logbook both for auditing purposes and for insurance purposes. So we have the logbook, and it was around 35 different volunteers in the past 3 years. So I did talk with both a fellow that does barbecue, Danny's, he's done it for Kaufman County, and he's actually really good. He provides tea, a dessert, and the barbecue plus 2 sides and bread. Now his price used to be $12 a person. It's gone up to $14 because of inflation. And then I went to the new fella that I've heard good things about in Terrell, Kevin's Barbecue. They're on, is that 9th Street? Anyway, his is also $14, but that doesn't include dessert or drink. So, because of the increased price, when I did this, I was thinking it was going to be $12, and then we'd have a little bit extra for, decorations or whatever. But so at that increased rate, the $6.50 is really, really tight. But any comments on that? We might need to up it a little bit more because of the $14. But it really depends on how many we have, and I think we would have to,
Tara,
Yeah.
isn't the 23rd the Friday after Thanksgiving?
I think it
Is
was
that
a
right?
Pretty
Saturday.
close to Thanksgiving.
It is.
If it's-
So it is, no, Thanksgiving's on the 28th. So
Okay,
this
so
is
it's
the
a Friday.
Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Okay,
Thanksgiving falls a little later.
okay, so more people will be around. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But it's,
Where do we take stuff like this, Tara, from the budget?
well, so this was in community events. Because Ann had mentioned it earlier, we did include it in the budget under, we have a heading under community, let's forget that. And I did include, that's the old one, under community events. And I was thinking around $6.50, but it might have to go up a little bit, but,
So is this all, for all 3.5 years, we're gonna invite the volunteers, is that what you're saying?
I looked in the logbook.
Because we didn't always have the logbook,
That's right.
Well, not everybody
so I wanna
signs it.
make
Not
sure
every,
we'll have
well,
that,
if they don't sign it, I put up their names in it.
but we didn't have it.
We didn't have it, so I'm just, anybody who's in our
Sure.
logbook,
Well, are we gonna include people too that have donated money, right? People that, or is it just for laborers?
that's something to discuss.
Well, that number is gonna be tied into both of those questions. Who are we inviting?
So I have the
labor.
logbook for the last, 22, 23, 24. So, but we do have, I've sort of a tentative list from others, so that's a good point, we need to discuss. But again, a lot of people may not come, so we would have to get, I think that they should come and give them a ticket or something so that we know, okay, we know how many we have.
But then,
or
then what about spouses and kids?
then they would probably have to pay.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't, I know we have 650 and maybe 700, but we don't have more than that.
So the volunteers would just get a ticket.
Volunteers would get a ticket for a free meal. Is it thank you very much, but then if they want to bring in their significant other, spouse, children, then they could, then I would have to have a count, so then we could tell the
Right.
So
caterer.
we need invitations, e-bites.
Right, I can, you know, we can, and some of that may depend on how many people we can get a hold of, but, and maybe we, I don't know, do you have any suggestions on it?
Well, put it on the form that if anybody's volunteered in the last 3 years to email the town with your, what you did in your email address, so we can do an e-bite, so we have RSVP, so.
I mean, and just in our community interest, a lot of times I'm trying, and that's one reason I do, is so we have a record of, so a lot, I can probably go back and some of that if it wasn't in the logbook, but like before we started recording in the log, so in 21, before we started in the logbook, we could get to capture those folks perhaps that way.
And to Mike's point, the people that's donated money, they're not gonna sign a logbook either, so we really need to.
I mean, I would
That's
But
just
some-
think of
Some
that like
people give, some
volunteer.
people do.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Givers
mean-
are just as important.
Yeah, I mean, I think
We brag
there's a lot
about.
of crossover, but there are some who have just given money, and that's very appreciated, and
It's what
so,
floated us for a long time.
absolutely.
Well,
So-
have them email in too.
So maybe
We should have
it's
record of that.
for,
Well, yeah, if you have a receipt for
volunteers and
donations,
those
we
who
may not have an
donate.
email address. That's the only thing, it's just, but if you,
I mean, this building is a product of a lot of donations.
well, most of it was donated time and donated resources.
you know, even my son worked on this building.
I mean, we,
I think our list is gonna be bigger, is I guess what I'm getting.
Yeah, but I
I
think-
can tell you, he's probably not written down
To
anywhere.
Tara's point, how many of those people are gonna show up?
well, I mean,
Especially when we tell them we gotta pay for.
There's and
else in
every
the
other.
car.
Well, I mean, when the PCCS students came over, they got credit for that, so I wasn't planning on inviting 100 kids, they got credit for their community service for that. So I was thinking more along the people who were the repetitive ones who, you know, have, you know, year in, year out have been, you know, just say, hey, we do appreciate you.
Now, this would be an outdoor event,
Yep, I was thinking right out here.
which I guess that
Mhm.
partly depends on the weather,
It
so
does, of course.
we'd have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's a month from now, it could be cold.
Or warm.
Yeah.
Well, we had the, you know, the Christmas thing, it's been outside
Yeah.
a lot, and it's, you know, you wear a jacket, it's cool. And I actually, I know Secretary Teresa was talking about a van that she had used, and I thought, okay, I could throw that in, because I've talked to my husband about that, but she did that for her husband's birthday, and they were very good, just to kind of make it a fun atmosphere. But any other comments on this? So since it is, I think we can, would you fellas be okay with, upping it to 700 since the price of the barbecue's gone up?
Now, what about tables and chairs and all that?
We have probably adequate chairs, well, it depends on how many come, but we have about, I know we have like 40 chairs, and then I can borrow from the churches and stuff, so.
Okay, but I mean,
And the school's been very good about
I
lending
got
us.
4 tables I can give you.
We don't have room for, well, I guess we've got an attic, okay.
no.
They're really nice, beautiful, nice
How
tables.
big are
They're 2 6-foot, 2 8-foot, and there are 2 corners that lock together so you can
they?
make
Okay,
them into U.
awesome. Okay, awesome, yeah, well, we could put them in the attic maybe.
Or I would store them somewhere nice because they're really nice tables, but I'll donate them to the cause.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. You said 4 tables.
They're 2 8-foot, 2 6-foot. And they have
Okay.
they have the legs at the corner. They're built for putting chairs under, and so you don't
Okay.
sit.
And possibly if the weather, we have the forecast, if the weather's too bad, we can maybe see about like Faith Temple or, allowing us to do.
Yeah, I have a rain plan just in case.
Yeah, we might have to, I talked to Chuck about that, hey, Columbia is that either, so.
I'm reading this English regardless.
Okay, that'd be great.
So
Any other comments on that?
No, I mean, my only, other than the complication, and you'll figure that out, or somebody will, because it's getting a little complicated. I just want to make sure that we're fair in who we invite, that there's
Okay.
no bias, that we invite people. If they volunteered, they need to be
Absolutely.
invited,
Absolutely.
whether we like them or not like them, or they're happy or angry or whatever, just to.
We want to be, yeah, no, absolutely.
We'll put it on the form to have an email too. I mean,
Mhm,
put it everywhere you can put it,
mhm.
so we get the
Okay.
contact information in case you don't have it.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be, because I may not have everybody's. Now, I would try to send thank you notes and I try and look up the addresses. So I think I have them. I try to do that, but, okay, so would
And if they're
you,
not comfortable emailing, tell them to email their council person, their
Sure.
report.
Sure.
I get that.
all right, so are you guys okay with upping that to 700?
That's fine.
Sure.
Okay.
What is our contingency if we find out there's 52 people?
I will wait up late.
Okay.
I mean,
I mean,
Maybe
it could be a
count,
real
I don't
question.
know. No, that could be.
it could, but,
You don't think it's an issue?
well, I don't know.
Well, most of those places, you have to give them a final count like a week or 2
Yeah,
days in
right.
advance.
Yeah.
So,
I guess it can be revised in the November meeting if y'all want to.
Okay, but
Yeah.
hopefully by then we'll have a good count.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, put a RSV date on those notices so that,
yeah,
Yeah, well, and if it does a little over, I might chip in some, but, hopefully, it'll work out just great.
So it is in the budget. We're not
No,
robbing for roads or anything else.
no, it's in the budget, under.
Can't rob from
community. Yeah, we can't,
Well, I'm a bigger fan of asphalt than I am free barbecue, but, just for the citizens' sake, but.
yeah.
well, that's.
All right, so
Okay.
if, do we have a vote to go ahead?
so comments?
Any public
Any
comment?
public comments on that? Okay, so Shelley Smith? Yes. Kevin Sinkovich?
Pass.
Okay.
Motion to accept the $700 budget.
$700, okay, any second?
Second.
We have a motion by Blake, second by Anderson to accept the $700 budget for the volunteer appreciation barbecue on Saturday, November 23rd, 5 p.m. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously, okay? All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. 7:42 is the time. We're gonna move on, guys. All right, the time is 7:47. We're gonna resume our regular agenda. We have number 8, volunteer road team, $4,500 for any pothole repairs for roads as needed this quarter. So I have a spreadsheet of the ones that they did from February through September, and they had about $7,500 for those. And the reason that I put on here for repairs for roads as needed, not just Kaufman County, was because we've seen where in between time there might be one big pothole on one road. And since we specified it could only be spent on Kaufman roads, then we're like, well, we can't spend any money because it's a Hunt County road, but if we open it up to either anything that needs it. So in between times, it might be 2-3 months in between a Hunt County repair sheet, and there might be 1 or 2 potholes that really need attention. And what do we do? So if the volunteer roads crew is out, they could go ahead and swing by and pick up 1 or 2 potholes as needed if we go ahead and open it up that way.
Well, I think 2434, living on 2434, I think we should, because when it rains, we can get big potholes there in a hurry, especially if there's heavy truck traffic.
Right.
They really tear it up.
So they're just asking for a kitty of 4,500 that they can pull out of to buy as needed.
Right. Well, and they're out of money. You can see here they're out of money pretty much, because our whole load is at least between $650 and $700. So,
Can we amend this amount later? I mean, you're specifying for the quarter, but if they,
We can get money anytime we want.
okay.
yeah, I mean, we're just, for the new fiscal year, we're just saying, hey, $4,500, and it might be in December, we might have to say, hey, I need some more money.
Right,
Depending
okay.
on weather, a lot of it depends on weather, and whether he can get volunteer crews going, if, people travel a lot and they're not available, or if the trailers are available, there's just a lot
Yeah.
With
of
citizen
factors.
Is the
Um,
audio turned back on? Yes, it is. Okay.
You know what, mine's not though, I apologize.
You were there.
Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Mine said they couldn't hear.
No.
Okay. There we go. Can you hear me better now? Okay. So number 8, Kevin, did you want to speak to that? Okay. All right, is there a motion?
Motion, sorry, well, I make the motion, we accept the $4,500 and open it up to Hunt County as needed, if needed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Anderson, second by Jackie, to allow the volunteer road team up to $4,500 for any pothole repairs for roads as needed. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 9, approve the 4th annual Christmas lights event for Saturday, December 21st at 5 p.m. So the committee last year said, hey, get it approved earlier so we can start earlier, so that's why we're here in October. And then we want to change the name to the Evie Anderson Christmas Lights event in her memorial. Evie was integral to this whole thing. She developed the judging sheet. She got all excited. She was, it was amazing to see. She really got everyone enthusiastic about the whole event, and she'll be missed sorely. And so I just felt like that was fitting. So.
Well, I appreciate it. She did like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Those were 2 favorites.
He's always very excited, very creative. I really appreciate that.
Use public comment.
Number 9. Nope.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Blake, seconded by Anderson. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 10, revising the rules of procedure to allow citizens to speak for 3 minutes in front of the meeting for general public comment / citizen comments, so they do not need to wait through the end of a long meeting, and striking items F and J on page 4. This is brought up by Councilmember Blake and Councilmember White.
Also had some other edits, but I think Tom probably has them better.
I think when we were talking earlier, Jonathan, we kind of,
On page 5.
you were mentioning a couple things that, Cindy, did you have something you wanted to say on this? Or you want me to go over
Sure.
this? Are you there?
I'm here, I'll
me.
say
Oh, wow.
something briefly. Oh, well, my apologies, yeah, I was just on mute before. But, yeah, I mean, we've been doing it one way this whole time. I've had a lot of people, mention the length of time they have to wait to speak on any subject, so it's nice to have general comment in the front. But then also the difficulty of having to slog through certain non-constructive comments too, that went on. Mr. Tom brought up a long time ago that, no other towns do it like us, and we were kind of being a rebel against the system for a while, giving that a try. Certainly our meetings aren't as good as we could imagine them being, mostly in some of the spirit that comes with it, perhaps some argumentativeness unnecessarily. And, we've been trying this out for 3 years now, and, I'd say let's give this a shot. Let's give the standard course of action for cities a chance to see if that helps out with the problem. It's not any permanent thing, but, it's the standard for a reason, and it makes sense that it might help with the problems that we've had in meetings in the past. So let's give it a go. I think it'd be a positive influence, but we can always change it.
Okay, So I think on here we had, on page 4, F and K, slashing through those, and then on page 5.
Well, still some more on core, needs to be
Okay.
fixed. There needs to be, the very first one should be A, and what's A should be B, B should be C, C should be D. And A should say, it needs to define, mayor and presiding officer may ask for comments from the public in the, whatever we call it.
I think that's what Blake and I were talking about is, okay, so where would you want the public comments? Because on the agenda, we have this citizen comments under E, and it kind of
Right.
details, and that was because the attorney said, look, you need to have it front and center. So we could actually have citizen comments just right here, right after the invocation, you could have citizen comments.
Which is, that's what we were talking about, but what he's talking about, do we need to have that also in our rules? Define in the rules
Well,
so that you can put it.
but it says consideration of agenda items. See, the agenda items isn't until like over here. Agenda
Okay.
items is a whole different section.
Well, that's true, so it should be up above consideration of agenda items. The first one should be, in my view, just to state it, that it's the mayor presiding officer is gonna ask for general comments, 3 minutes, or whatever we call it, and,
Yeah.
the public general comments. Then, yeah, you'd start, A would be A, not as I suggested, but it should go up above general consideration of agendas.
Okay. Well, we were kind of addressing it on page 5 when it says appearance before town council. It says agenda item, quote, citizen comments, provides the opportunity for any member of the public to speak. And then we have that, or, we could cross out or ask questions on any topic that is on the agenda. Then during the general public comments, agenda items, citizens may also make comments on items not on the posted meeting agenda, but town council members will be unable to deliberate, but may provide factual responses. There will be an opportunity to speak, and on public hearing, now that should be a capital P and capital H. Public hearing is a type of meeting. As those items are announced for those type meetings, that should be a capital P, capital H. That is, like for budget, we had a public hearing. That's always the case in state law, that you have to let them speak on that agenda item. And then on the second paragraph at the bottom, we could just add maybe the citizen input will be immediate following the invocation. And you could just.
I'm sorry, where are you saying that?
She's up there in this paragraph.
Yeah, I agree, we need to have a place for it, state the
Yeah.
place.
So you could, on that second paragraph at the end,
Oh,
you just
okay,
make a statement that says citizen input will be immediately following the invocation.
okay, that's
If,
fine.
council is agreeable to that. And that way we have, it kind of makes sense, because it never made sense to me, even though the attorney put like that there, it's like, okay, it's not really, we're not doing anything there, it's just a notice.
How well informed do you think our citizens are at the beginning of the meetings?
How well informed they are,
Yeah.
Pretty well informed.
Think so?
some of them are.
Yeah,
Think so?
I think a lot of them, spend a lot
They'll
of
look
time.
over the packet.
Well, but they're maybe of the topic, but they certainly don't know where we stand. I mean, they haven't heard us talk yet, so.
Kind of like to know where they stand too. I'd like some input from them. I mean,
When they inputted on the zoning though, they were classified as either lambasting or doxing when they text everybody their comments on that.
Well,
Never.
if you email me through my email address,
Yeah.
that's the way to contact me.
Okay.
When you take my personal phone and blow it up with a bunch of texting, I don't appreciate that. I pay for all that.
The zoning is a public hearing. Now, that is different than just a regular meeting. So, in a public hearing is a state law. Public hearing is a type of meeting, and in that, you have to have them speak on that agenda item at the time. So, for budget, for zoning, for several things, the state mandates that you have to do it that way. For a regular meeting, we don't have to, and most cities don't. And even counties don't. So, a lot of counties, they don't do it the way that we're doing it. And our attorney has said, I think your meetings will go better if you did it like most other cities.
Yeah, we knew the day was coming when the citizens wouldn't be able to just speak on every agenda item. That's
Well, they do though. That's state law. They absolutely do. They can speak on any agenda item.
I'm saying during the meeting, before
Yeah.
you interrupt me anymore. We knew that day was coming because we've been fighting this, and Brian Vincent actually supported me in it last time, and that's why I stayed. Now we got a new council, so I knew it was coming. But if that's the route it's going to go, I don't want to see the general comment go to the beginning, because I don't think people have enough. Some people don't have internet access. Some people don't have access to any of this, and this is where they get their information. So to claim that they're informed, I think that's subjective at best.
Well, I know some are. I mean, you're right. Some of them are not.
I would agree with that.
Well, and so we can always ask for, as citizen expert, we can always ask if we need clarification, like say someone made it, you know what, I think it'll be more focused. So if someone really has something that their version seems to say, they'll say it, and if it needs more clarification, I can ask and say.
But you're the only one that can open the floor to it.
Well, we can
So
go,
if they disagree with
you
you-
actually can, so you can say, hey, I'd really like to hear from so-and-so.
Yeah,
And
she
as
would
long-
have to recognize it.
As long as the mayor or the presiding
You have to
officer
recognize it.
it, then we could. If it's gonna be productive, then yes, absolutely. But if it's something, this we've heard 20 times before, then it's not really helping us. It's not really productive.
There's so much subjectivity built into that statement, though.
Well, I think our meetings have run very long, and we're doing it to ourselves. And as Simeon said, hey, other towns do it this other way for a reason. When I had a citizen who, she texted me after the last meeting, and she said, wow, she said, I've never been to a council meeting. That was my first, and that will be my last. She said, you very much need security services, and I cannot believe, wow, that was crazy. That was just crazy. And so I feel like we're doing a disservice to a lot of our citizens who cannot wait through a 4-hour meeting. And so I do think it would be better to have it, let's just try it.
So to compromise, if we may, because I can tell you I know which way this council's going. If we strike F and K, can we leave the general comments at the end? Even if we have a special comment at the beginning, I don't know. I feel like I want to hear the people after they hear us discuss it. That was why Councilman Vincent ended up agreeing with me, because he wanted to hear it after the people were fully informed. Transparent as we can be. So,
But general comments is for things outside
but
of
they
the
can speak
agenda.
anything on that agenda. It doesn't have to be outside the agenda.
Well, normally,
It's
it's for
not even
something
normally, it just
besides.
allows them the ability to go outside the agenda. It doesn't say they have to be outside the agenda. No.
Well, I would like to get legal on that, because
They can speak about anything. They can speak about the football game last night.
after the
Yeah.
vote, there was some language, after the vote, then it's not really helpful, is it? I don't think it's really helpful after a vote.
It's a fait accompli at that point.
Well, it's just another avenue to complain, but if they need to get their comments in before the vote. And after that, that's just kind of, let's come to the table with solutions. I'm tired of hearing all the problems and the whining and the complaining, and they have a right to do that.
They do have a right.
However, we have way more of the negative bluster that is not helpful, and it's not productive. Come to the table, come to us with solutions, not just complaints, is what I would love to see. I
Put that in
don't
this
think it's
document,
healthy.
I mean, put that in this document. I'm not going to tell them how they can exercise their First Amendment right.
We're
That
not,
was given to us by the Constitution.
we're not telling them.
Well, you're suggesting.
I'm saying that we've had a lot of negative Nellies, and
We have.
we have, and it's.
But are we looking
but-
in the mirror? Are we inviting any of
Well,
them?
but here's what's happening. I have probably 7 or 8 people who have told me that they will not come to the meeting because they don't want to hear all that. They don't want to hear all the negative.
Well, but Tara, even if it's at the beginning, you can't prevent that.
No.
You sure can.
So I mean, I like it at the beginning just because, if I'm not on the council and I wanted to make a talk about something, I'd want to come in
Get
at
it?
the very beginning, say it, and then go home.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to wait till 10 or 11 o'clock at night to do that. So, to me, it makes sense for people to say it at the beginning. But if someone wants to say something that's we don't like, well, they still have that
They
right.
absolutely do.
I think to me,
we've had a lot of-
the spirit of making the change should be to make the meetings more productive, not to be punitive, right? Because I don't think we're ever gonna punish people into behaving differently. I think I appreciate when people speak, I forget the noisy ones or the noisy incidents, not noisy ones, but when we get a little bit loud. But I like to hear their thoughts. I like us to deliberate, and then they kind of weigh in. Now, I guess we'll just have to take notes because they're going to weigh in at the beginning without really knowing what we're going to say. And then sometimes I have a change of heart because I'm like, I didn't think about that. I mean, they brought up a good point. I heard something useful. And so I think, to me, it would be to make the meetings run more efficiently, not to try to punish people out of, saying what they want to say.
Well, I think absolutely.
But I think
Because the
they're,
problem is, I worry that someday I may be coming to the meetings
Yeah.
and I may be the target. I'm not
well,
proposing
no,
I'm
not
gonna
target. It's to me, it's more laser focused. I think we have a lot of wasted time when they're just grandstanding. Let's get to the point. Please give us your comment. I love when people have productive, helpful comments that maybe we haven't thought of. And if someone was maybe out of time, we absolutely can acknowledge later, hey, we'd like to ask a question about what you were saying earlier. That's still in the capability. So I'm with you on that, is I want people to provide a different viewpoint on things, and that's really productive. But I think I think we can improve. I just think we can improve.
I guess our point right now is, do we move to the front and, not have comments on individual items as we go? And I'm in favor of that. I think that's the way it's written. I mean, I understand how my edits weren't really as good as what you put out, so I'm in favor of doing it. And then that last one was to make sure that, the last edit was make sure that it goes, we say in here, it's gonna go at the beginning, right after the invocation, or whatever we want, and then that clarifies that it's at the beginning of the meeting. And then then the only question is it 3 minutes or 4 minutes or what? Do we change that?
Simeon, did you have something?
I was just gonna say that, whenever I'm not a councilman going to these meetings, I would want it to be at the start so I can give the opinion before it's voted on, and B, I also wouldn't want to have to sit through comments on every single item because it'd be wearing, honestly, especially if I'm not a councilman. I'm not gonna sit through that. And that's what several people said to me. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and specifically want it before at the start. So I'm in favor of that.
We might actually get more productive comments because they are willing to come in at the beginning of the meeting. Okay.
What was the average time that Eddie researched for comments?
I'll have to go back and look. 3
Give
4
us 3
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
3 minutes is what I
Always like
remember,
the
but I
standard.
don't know if
But I do have a reminder that, Eddie spent not hours, she spent days listening, calling the mayors, calling the secretaries of the different towns, looking in and listening to their, what happened in the council meetings. And she spent an enormous amount, and she's got a section for each one of these towns, and she did it in North Texas. She didn't do it up in North Carolina. It was North Texas, and it's, a dozen or so in this area. But she spent so much time that she knew it really well. And so the answer is, they all said the same. No, just have it at the beginning. Even the ones that have comments, that allow comments on the agenda items, told her they had very few to do that. Most people want to come in, make the comments at the beginning, and then leave.
So I feel like there's 6 different versions of what we want to change this to. I mean, you've got some stuff highlighted, it's not mine.
I withdraw mine because I didn't realize it was already taken
Right,
care
but
of.
what are we
Should
proposing?
I go over that?
Go back over your,
Okay.
word for word,
So,
because
okay,
I've got a lot of.
Okay, so page 1 is fine, page 2 is fine, there's a missing of page 3.
I'm gonna-
Do we-
No, it's flipped over. It's over.
Okay. So, all right, so page 3 is fine. Page 4 is the consideration of agenda items. So we would just exit out, cross out F and K, and of course renumber accordingly.
And ignore what I said.
Wait a minute, so F is members of the public provide the opportunity to make comments for 3 minutes, okay, but where are we going to say that they do that at the beginning of the meeting?
On page 5, and then take out K, and then on page 5, under appearance before town council. And that's what I was reading before. Agenda item, citizen comments provides the opportunity for any member of the public to speak, and we cross out or ask questions
Right.
on any topic that is on the agenda. During the general public comments agenda item, citizens may also make comments on any items not on the posted meeting agenda. But town council members will be unable to deliberate, but may provide factual responses. There will be an opportunity to speak on public hearings, that's capital P, capital H, because that is items as those are announced for those type meetings. That's a specific type of meeting. So there's, because the state law requires on public hearings that you have it on that agenda, like budget, I mean, it is on that item exactly. And then the end of paragraph 2, just adding citizen input will be immediately following the invocation, and then we need to say for a period of 3 or 4 minutes, and then 6 minutes
If an interpreter.
if an interpreter. So we would move that language on F, just move it here.
Point me back to that, where's that at? That's
She's saying add that.
Add
page
that
five.
on page 5
Second paragraph bottom,
after,
after items are announced.
for a period of 3 minutes, 6 with interpreter. Now, do you want to do citizen comments / general comments, like all in one? I know when I went to the
I'd
county,
like citizen comments up front and then general public comments at the end, which could include agenda stuff, like, hey, I'm proud of you for voting that way, or I disagree. Or they wanna talk about football, I mean, they talk about anything, but.
Well, I like them all both at the front. Just get them all done right then. Let people say what they want.
But they're not gonna comment on our behavior
Well-
in any way, shape, or
they
form
can
because
go
they
to the
haven't
next,
seen it
they
yet.
can go to the next, next meeting, they
You know,
can.
but that's a month later, I don't think anybody's gonna carry the thought over that far.
Well, I'm for reviewing both at the beginning. They're all citizen comments. And they will be either on agenda items or general. And that's another reason. It gives them the liberty to, because they tend to wander off a topic sometime on agenda items.
I know when I was before commissioners court, that's the way they do it. You know, they just say, you know, and I had, my agenda item was canceled, I said, well, can I speak under general comments? Absolutely. Still, I was able to, even though the agenda item had been postponed, I could speak under general comments and get my.
Which was at the front of the meeting?
It was. Mhm.
Can we consider editing page 6 as well? Can we add some language in there, how we address council member conduct standards if there is misconduct? There's nothing in there that remedies misconduct.
Well, I don't know, that's not, the attorney has said that's not the place for this. You would have to.
That's not the place for what.
So that would have, something like remedying council member conduct would have to go through the attorney before we could approve that.
So we needed it. Because we're trying to pass a code of conduct, and we can't get that passed.
Well,
We have
that was on,
misconduct standard in here, but it
I
doesn't
remember
address it.
we're supposed to have that on the form, that, I haven't seen that on the form.
Yeah, I might put it on there.
It's on there.
And I didn't need to comment because I agreed with it. There's been no other
Okay,
comments.
so
Okay. I haven't seen that.
So we
So
can't
what do you-
edit this, it's already on here.
yeah, what do you
So,
like or don't like?
What
about
I'm
it?
saying is,
It doesn't tell us how to bring up to call the conduct of each member on both their official and private affairs. That should be above reproach.
again, the attorney would have to look at that.
No.
We cannot put something in writing that's against state law, so that would.
Well, I think
Point of
there's
order,
state law.
we're off topic though.
No, we're editing this document. Y'all can
No,
page
we're
3,
revising.
page
We're
4.
revising citizen
Read number
comments.
10.
But,
Yeah,
but it
He's
falls
right.
into this,
okay.
the agenda item.
Okay, I'm
These are all
gonna say
agenda items.
that point of order, we're not talking about that
We
particular
don't even want to
item.
talk about it. Okay.
Well, I mean, it is, we're talking about public
I don't see
comments,
anything.
and that's not anything to do with this topic at all.
Okay.
You're off topic.
Thank you for letting me know that.
All right, so do we, you have a motion?
Oh, do you have to have any comments from others?
Yeah, we still look at that form for this meeting.
Okay, agenda number 10, Shelley Smith.
Y'all look at this room. Do you notice a problem with this room? Could it be that there's no one here because this agenda item has let them know that you don't care to hear from them? At every meeting, the mayor starts off with, "We welcome you and we want you to feel heard, informed, valued, and connected to your town and its council. We welcome diversity of opinion and we want minority views as well as majority views." But then she's been known to say, citizen participation is mostly problematic. A few weeks ago, Sam Blake made the comment that since no one spoke up about a topic at a recent meeting, that indicated to him that there was no opposition to his agenda item, which led us to believe that once upon a time, he had valued citizen input. Now he wants to eliminate it. Why? Because the citizens have become a problem to him. We've discussed this very agenda item in past meetings. Certain members of the council wishing to move citizen comments to the beginning so that we could not speak up after learning what exactly would be discussed. The agenda packet certainly doesn't reveal much to us, so we must wait to know whether or not we should speak. Could it also be that you're concerned that some citizens make too much sense? Therefore, they must be silenced. Part of the decorum resolution says that even council members have a right to be heard. What happened to that right last month when two councilmen who are not her fellas, as she calls the other three, wanted to discuss an item but were refused that right? And sorry, Mike, I remember it differently than you. So the mayor and her fellas who vote lockstep with her are now running the town with wild abandon, knowing they hold the majority vote, that is, as long as they vote as the madam has instructed them to. I implore you to think for yourselves. Stop just blindly following, because I assure you that if you don't, you will not need to worry about sitting at this table after Election Day. The people know and will not re-elect you.
We have a motion.
Is that, okay, I make a motion, we accept it. It's item 10 with the edits that we just discussed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, seconded by Blake. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, and that passes, the motion passes 3-2. Okay, moving on to number 11. So, BHC task order number 104, engineering possibilities. So, last meeting we got that the day, we got this, and I wanted you to be able to see this. So, they had the revised, updated articles of incorporation map, preparation of updated articles of incorporation map and description with the assistance of shape files provided by the Town of Poetry. And remember, that was from Stovall. Town of Poetry shall also provide a corrections list to resolve discrepancy. We had an ordinance that we passed that will do that, found on the original articles of incorporation map, POB/POE table. And then he has, the preparation shall not exceed 25,000. So that was quite a bit jump up. I will say that I did check with our attorney. I did check, and he said you can absolutely look for other prices. I did check with the city manager of Talty, gave me 2 engineering firms. KSA Engineering is quite big. A fellow surveyor named Chris Berry, I talked with him. I sent him the files, but he has yet to get back with me. So I was hoping, I sent that to him, weeks ago. And he hasn't given me any kind of range. I was like, can you give us a ballpark on what this might cost? I was kind of wanting to get some reference. I do know that Mayor Craig of Union Valley said that their map, of course, they're only like, they're like a fourth of our size. Their map is like 10,000, is what he said. That's what he told me.
And it's pretty much rectangular as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's not.
So it's a lot easier.
Well, I mean, they do circumvent roads, but it is smaller. It is quite a bit smaller.
So are we talking about going to other firms for price or going to other firms for possible issuance of the work for them, giving them the job?
Well, and 25,000 was just a very large number. It was larger than what they originally had said, and so it was kind of sticker shock. Maybe we need to suck it up and pay it, but I did
Well, I'm not
try to
saying it's a
reach
good
out.
price, I just wonder about the idea of, I mean, we've told these people you are a town engineering firm, and then last time we did that with law firms, we got in trouble.
Bid contract.
Yeah, I mean, it's like either there are people or they're not, so, and maybe you said this, if you did, I apologize because I wasn't listening, I was reading it, but have we gone back and said that's, can you help me understand that, that's like way too expensive, or that's a different number than you said before, or have we?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
He gave
talked
a good
to-
explanation of it last time.
right, well, I mean, basically, they said, you know, with all the additional things that came about, and Terry, you were there for most of the discussion, I think. We talked about it some after you left, but I think you heard most of it, is that this was just grew into a lot more, and at first, they have to use their ACE engineer / surveyor, which is Chase Crawford. They were doing it with somebody at a lower cost, which I interpreted meaning they were gonna have Chase just verify what the other person did. But then Gary said now they're having to put Chase on it to do all of the work because of all of the questions that came up, and you caught quite a few of them, and they had to go back twice and correct what they had. So he said now they're just doing it with Chase Crawford, which is at a higher rate, because not only is he fully qualified, but he's also a partner. So we're paying a partner rate to do this because, you know, they want to get it right. And partly that, and he admits, it's because of the lawsuit. Because they know they've been subpoenaed for a deposition, so they know they have to get it right, because if they get subpoenaed, they got to be able to prove that, yeah, they did this thorough job. So those are all reasons why the cost went up, as opposed to what they originally planned, which, you know, having done this, you have somebody at a lower cost do the bulk of the work, and then somebody that's got the PE stamp to review it, check it, and stamp it. Well, in this case, they said they're going to review it and stamp it, but they're not going to have somebody else do it. Chase Crawford's going to do it all.
So what is the deliverable? Is it against what we voted on last month, which was a changed list of distances and some markups
They're
on the
going to redo
map?
the map. This is what I understood. They're going to redo the map that we gave them, except it's going to be their map, and then on it, they're going to stamp it as both a PE and a surveyor.
But at whose direction? What are they?
Well, we already gave them
We gave
direction.
Okay,
with the
so we gave them
ordinance.
the markups.
Well, let me clarify. The ordinance is giving them direction, the one that we passed last month. We would give that to them. If you guys approve this task number, sheet number 104, we would give them the ordinance, in that we say, hey, the council approved this expenditure, then that would give them, and that's what they were wanting. They were wanting direction.
But they'd be working off the GISS coordinates, plus our changes that we gave them that list in the last time.
So are they gonna fix things like it simply says start here and go there, that's a line, which is gonna have square edges, or are they gonna fix the radius?
Well, on
Yeah.
our ordinance, we
Yeah.
said with arcs.
With
Remember,
arcs,
we
Okay, so they're
modified
gonna have to
Center of the
define
road.
those.
Yeah, it fixed on anything that was a discrepancy, was unclear, it fixed all that.
It's going to be their map,
And they
not
did
it's our
say,
map.
yeah, they did say if they're gonna stamp and seal it, then they are gonna do it their way.
But
It's
they,
gonna be-
but realizing the potential for being deposed in a lawsuit, they want to have it all done that way.
They had to
So-
retain an attorney.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so because of me not having any background and being able to point out multiple flaws, now we have to pay the higher rate than the original conversation we had. And we had those conversations just like engineering firms you were a part of. They let the junior engineers do it at a lower rate for cost savings, and then the upper engineers, and in this case the upper RPLSs, would stamp it. But because of the discrepancies that we found, now we pay top rate.
And the lawsuit.
They can't use the lawsuit because all they can charge us for is time. which diligence would be in their favor.
Well, it
Well,
does, and that they have to use a partner now instead of a lower rate, with a partner doing 10% of the work. Now it's a partner doing 100% of the work.
So on task sheet 101, we had approved the $1,800. They spent probably $6,500 and discounted all that. So the errors that you found, they discounted all that. So,
So the second thing, I mean, however this votes tonight, but the decision in September that is going to be the article or the ordinance that we give them to draw on. But even in our minutes, it says that we had debate over when the POEs and POBs were done. You kept telling council they were done in May, they were done in May, they were done in May.
they were documented in May.
They were documented in November 24th, 2020, guys. Y'all can look at that county clerk's stamp.
Well, the stamp,
You want to look at it?
I'm just saying that on the document we have in here, it's stamped May 11th.
I think they doubled down in May and re-voted on it.
Maybe they did.
But
I don't
just-
have that document.
Yeah, but to tell, and I told y'all I'd had it, I seen
But
it.
that's kind of, it's not that important, except that document was Stovall Engineering. It wasn't Dorothy Dillon. It was
No,
Stovall
and that's
Engineering.
fine, but I'm
But
saying
I'd like to get a copy of that. I don't
you
have
can
one.
make a copy when we're done. But we kept telling council that no, the commissioners court passed it, and then the engineers did it in May. This is gonna prove that it was done in November, and this is what the county commissioners agreed upon.
What I knew that it was stamped in May.
But
It was stamped May 11th, so if you're
and
saying
this
it's
one's
stamped
stamped
earlier.
November 20th,
So that's
2024.
interesting.
Is it the same
Yeah.
table?
Same table.
So it
guys.
has the same errors.
This is the defining language.
It has the same errors.
What do we wanna call error?
Well,
What do we wanna call error?
well,
You tell me on a map where a certain point is.
Okay,
John,
so
I
we're
like-
kind of getting
can't
off
tell you.
topic, guys.
I want the guys to be informed. And if you say, hey, I'm good with the vote I made, that's on you.
that's right.
Okay. Mi-
Okay, point of order.
Mr. Tom, you're an engineer and I know how stickler for details you are. I don't want you to be misled to know that the engineers passed this, the county commissioners passed this engineered stamp, or this engineered data, the survey data in November. Okay? I don't want you to be misled.
Okay, so Shelley Smith? Pass. Okay, so any other comments on the BHD Task Order 104 and engineering possibilities?
Make a motion, we accept the, as shown, 25,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, seconded by Blake. All those in favor of this BHD Task Order 104? All those opposed? Okay, and that passes 3-2. Okay. All right, moving on to number 12. Discussion of permits and inspections of new and remodel construction. Councilmember Fowler asked for this to be on the agenda and moving forward.
So I get multiple calls, and it could be because of my second job and being in construction, but I get citizens calling all the time. Wanting to buy property or have property, won't know what they can do. What is the process? I don't have any documentation to tell them what the process is. So permits, inspections, approval by the city, setbacks, all that. Are we expecting the citizens to read the zoning ordinance and build as close as they can to it? What's the process for everybody?
Well, a lot of times I've gotten numerous emails, and so in the county actually makes me sign off on a letter that I've written. So I'm glad we're talking about this. So because of the new zoning ordinance, what I have done is I'll look for the property ID, I go to the CAD, I look it up, I see how many acres it is, who it is, and then I'll do a site visit and see, okay, is this a single family residence or what is this? And then I ask them, is this a replacement septic? What is this? It's been mainly septic because the county contacts me for the septic. And so then I'll do the site visit and then I'll ask them, okay, is this a replacement? And according to our zoning, you can do a replacement for the septic as long as It's a replacement. Now, if it's a new build, we did have one new build, but she had receipts prior to the incorporation or the zoning. And so she had receipts from January, and so she was grandfather claused in, and so she got to
Okay,
do
we're
that.
moving forward, new
Yeah.
builds,
New
they're calling me
builds.
today, wanna know what the process is, what I tell the citizens.
Well, they would have to get a letter from the mayor or the county has required
Have we
everything.
written that anywhere?
We haven't, the county
That
has
should be in the
required
zoning
that.
document?
I don't think zoning.
We have to proceduralize
There's
this somehow.
administrative things. Now, the county has required, I just wrote back an email and I said, no, you have to write on your letterhead. I mean, just like when we do a letter for a fence that is in the right of way. I mean, I wrote a letter on letterhead. I signed it, had Mayor Pro Tem Blake sign it. It's an official letter, like you have 30 days to, because that's administrative. That's not necessarily, just like Mayor, Berman has said, administratively, there's things that I have to do. I go do road checks. It's not necessarily written anywhere.
Well, but
that I
this
do
is
road
more
checks.
official, so you're mayor/building official?
Well, right now, we don't have public works. We don't have any of
I
that.
know.
So we don't have a code enforcer. We don't have any of that. So yeah, it kind of falls on my hat.
So anybody who calls me, say, call the city building official to our same pitch.
Well, we don't have that position, and so if you would like to do something to make it an official, we don't have any. We have 2 part-time secretaries and the mayor, and so that's the way it rolls.
Yeah, so I think we need those following documents. I think on the forum you referred to me and Jackie as kicking the can down the road, and I think that's the due diligence that was missed in that rush zoning ordinance. We should have discussed on how these proceed. I've had one citizen not buy a house because they didn't know if they can rebuild it. I said, well, read the ordinance. He's like, I can't read it. I don't know if I can.
Have them call me and I can help
So
explain.
you'll be the subject matter
Absolutely.
expert on the
I
zoning?
have done that from numerous people,
Okay.
and if there's a question I don't know, I'll consult Berman on it.
Okay,
But
well, let's
I've
put
had-
that in the Poultry Post then. I think that'd be a good way to
Okay.
inform citizens.
I mean, I'm happy to, one of my favorite things is to help people find solutions. And so if they're trying to build, I've helped, helped numerous citizens on these kind of things.
Okay.
Well,
And I'm happy to
point
do
out, the mayor is the chief executive
Yeah.
of the town.
Yeah.
So even if we had somebody, it still comes to the mayor.
What
So
happens
we need
if
to
there's
start
a
somebody.
compliance discrepancy down the
There we go.
road? I mean, what's the,
You mean the compliant, well, I asked Mayor Craig.
and I'm
what
not
do
accusing
do?
you of anything, but let's say you interpret the P and Z a certain way. They build a house and then future councils come back and say, oh, wait a minute, that's not how we
Legally
interpret this.
non-conforming.
They gotta move that house. It's a foot over the
Well,
line.
if there's,
or
I
it's-
mean, most of it's been cut and dry. It's like, okay, this, and I've said it like, okay, if you're gonna build a house, I mean, just change it from the document. But if there's some sort of gray, I mean, that hasn't come up
To
yet.
me, if we had and I'm not saying we were ready for this, but I remember the P and Z meetings, because we did have several of them, saying, and the next step needs to be, we need to sort of put this into motion, right? And how are we gonna implement it, and what are gonna be the consequences and whatever. But each of these approvals needs to be documented somehow. I mean, if I went to the city of Rowlett and said I want to build a pool, they would fill out a form and they would document that they approved my pool, so that if somebody comes back later, an inspector, and says that pool is illegal, I can say, oh, wait a minute. Your other guy said it's legit, so I guess I just want to make sure that we're covering ourselves as a town.
Well, our zoning, the one beautiful thing about our zoning ordinance is very simple. So there's not a lot of rules in it. So it's pretty simple. 75-foot setbacks from the front center of the road, 5 from the back, 5 foot from the side. Don't make it over 40 foot high. You need 2.5 acres per dwelling. Your driveway should go to your house or you can have driveway to a barn or shop.
How wide's the driveway?
30 foot, I think is
How many can you have?
You can have one to your house and one to your barn. Those kind of things I would have to, be specific and look those up. But everything is documented. So if there's a letter that I've written, I have them documented. It's on town, and if I make a mistake, I own it. If there's a mistake, but we've had a handful of these.
Well,
If there's-
I'm not indicting you in any way. I'm just thinking, from here going forward, again, if I was, considering purchasing land and poetry and spending a lot of money on a house, I would want to be really sure
Yeah.
that I was building it in the right place, turned the right direction with the right driveways and all that, because I don't want to build it and then be burdened with, actually.
Well, Mike, in our current situation, if the mayor gave them a letter saying this is what you gotta comply with, that's about as legal as you
Well, it's all
can
we
get.
got.
That's not true.
I agree with that, but I don't know.
City of Dallas is facing lawsuits right now where they gave a lot of people right around the left field to go to build these multi-million-dollar houses, and then they come back and go, oh, we shouldn't have done that. That's a historic district or some kind of special district, and they've got massive houses going up. So it's not always as cut and dry as that.
Well, yeah, someday down the road, we may face that.
Well, and I did email Attorney Berman on this. I said, and he said, look up chapter 214 and chapter 54. He said, you don't. It's maybe a little premature, but we don't even have a municipal court. You don't have a code enforcer. We have none of it. And he said it's a little premature, but I mean.
But to Mike's point, we got to start documenting this stuff now
Well, it's
because
already been documented.
I'm
already doing it.
I didn't know that when I asked for this agenda item, if we're clear on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving forward, I would expect everything, because when a question is called in 10 years from now, they're gonna say, well, I built that in 2022 or 2024, and yeah.
So
Well, the zoning
not
had
only
already
is it
been
on
passed.
email that I printed a copy, a paper copy, and it's in my file in here,
Okay.
and I've told Secretary Teresa where that is.
So public, we're gonna do it on the public, or post, or the
No.
poetry post, we're gonna advertise.
Oh, advertise on Poetry Post.
Anybody wanting to do new construction, or really it's any construction, remodel construction is considered, because if they're extending their house.
Questions, I mean, but again, the beautiful thing about our zoning ordinance is it's very simple.
Well, but it doesn't get a little bit complicated if they want to add on to an existing structure that's non-compliant?
Simeon, what is your take on that? Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. So there's only one circumstance where you really have to worry about that, and that's if the 3 or 4 people that have their front yards within the setbacks already, if they wanted to expand on their property forward even farther towards the road. Beyond that, remodeling, it's completely fine. There's nothing against it. Technically, we have an area, green space area limit, but they would have to add, 100,000 square feet in most circumstances. So, the whole point of this is to let people keep doing what they've been doing this whole time. Go and remodel as much as you want. I mean, there's pretty much no way for you to break the ordinance unless you're going to shove the remodel right up against a property line that you're already super close to, or something like that. Those setbacks are really going to be the thing.
Right, but I don't think, again, as a citizen, I would want to be the one that did the interpreting of the
Absolutely.
P&Z, because I would want something, and if David were here, he would use whatever term he said, like, well, she was acting in that capacity, so there's an expectation that she had the right to do that, right? So I would want something in writing that says, this was okay. Because if I read it and interpret it, and I interpret it wrong, you can say, well, you never asked me, right, or the council or whoever's running it.
That's essentially a permit. They don't have to cost money, but it's a permit. It's a request to build.
Well,
It's just
I
an
don't
approval.
want a permit, but I
So
do
you go to the
have.
job site if they're building it and measure from the fence to their.
I could.
I know you can.
I could. I have a.
Do we need
I
to,
have
or
a
do they need to
will.
provide a map to
Well,
the city?
but you understand, a lot of times it's not even done yet. Like it's not. But for instance, I've had several questions on this front, and so I've asked Simeon a couple questions on for clarification. I said, hey, the zoning ordinance is on our website, but it is in a nutshell. I would point just some the majors. Here's a nutshell what the major things are. But I had one question. She was like, well, if my house had to be torn down, say it's really old, it had to be torn down, does that mean I couldn't rebuild it? And I said, no, you can rebuild up to 150% of the cost of the value of that home. She goes, well, what's the value? I said, well, it's not written, it's very vague. So you could find an appraiser give you the value, and as long as you don't go over 150%, you can build that home over, in the same spot. we wrote that in the ordinance.
And just to clarify, that's for non-compliant buildings. So if anybody that's complying, their house burns down, they can build it back, you know, 100
Right.
times.
And hers was, I think she has 2 acres or something, and so that's what she was concerned about that. But she was very relieved to know that that's, it's not a problem.
And so that's an example of something that you would have written up and put in the file, or
Well,
not?
in that one, it was kind of this ethereal question. It wasn't, she's not doing anything at all, it was just a concern. So she called me, and I just explained that to her. Now, there was another one, well, he was actually having to work with Kaufman County because part of his property is in the county, and then part of it's in the city, and so I did have to consult Attorney Berman on that one. I said, can they really make him jump through all these hoops? And the majority of his property that he's trying to sell is in the county, so yes, he has to comply with the county, even though he is a Poetry citizen. And so,
It's not an ETJ.
well, there's a portion,
ETJ goes a half mile past our boundaries.
well, he's trying to sell 2.5 acres. He was complying with the ordinance, but he was trying to sell 2.5 acres, but it's a long strip, so most of it, the majority was in the county. So he has to meet their requirements.
So you're saying the most of it's outside the ETJ?
No, it's in the ETJ,
Okay.
but it's outside the town. So even if it's in the ETJ or outside the ETJ, they still have to comply with Kaufman County subdivision regulations.
So then,
They're having to comply, as we mentioned, by default. Kaufman County subdivision regulations are kicking in, and they're holding them accountable to those. So he's dividing his property. I think he has 6 total acres. He's wanting to sell 2.5 acres. And so he's having to, when he reached out to me, and I'm like, what? And so then I had to consult Berman, and sure enough, they do have the right, Kaufman County does have the right to do that apparently.
so he has to replat it with the county.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not building anything on it.
No, but
He's
the
not
new
gonna set
owner
these
is
on
potentially, well, they're wanting to put horses out there,
So-
but they're potentially gonna
So
build.
he's having to replat it, yes.
He's having to replat it, yes.
So we covered a lot of other things on the agenda that, are interesting, but they're not as meaty as this. At what point do we feel like it's relevant for us to come back and take the next step with zoning, right? Start laying out the constructs of,
Well, I don't know, Mayor Craig said they have 1 infraction a year, it's not a big deal, they take it before a magistrate judge, and it's not a big deal, so.
But they also use Bureau of Veritas to do their building inspections.
They do, but they didn't have inspections for years and years and years. I mean, we're only 4 years into this. I was looking at this, it says we may. We don't have to have permitting.
No, we don't have to.
But
That's how
if
you
you
double
do,
down and make sure that
yeah, but
things
if
go right.
you do, then you have to have a lot of rules, and we just don't have we just don't have the resources to do that. I just don't see it.
so right now, we're just basically providing an interpretive service. We interpret the P and Z for them and give them our interpretation of.
Well, thankfully, it's only 18 pages, and
Right.
it's not that complicated.
But yes.
I would not get into the permitting at all. I mean, there's nothing that screams big city like permitting. I mean, the point of this zoning ordinance was so that we wouldn't be like the other big cities. And as soon as you start requiring permits, requiring these sorts of things, that's when you step into that territory. Right now, we're, helping them out with something they could do themselves, which is read whatever local laws happen to exist. And that can be true with zoning or with any other laws that we set up, traffic or otherwise. I mean, we're here to help out, explain what we wrote, but permitting, that's a whole different thing.
So in this role, Tara, have you denied anybody? Have you told them, no, you can't do that, or has it always been it's okay?
I think I have to think back. I've had a good handful. I believe all of them. Now, the one that I just mentioned, I said, I'm sorry, you will have to comply with Kaufman County subdivision, or, the replat.
Yeah, but that's not us. That's,
No, but he was like, help, Mayor, help.
yeah, no.
And I'm like, I'm so sorry, but you're gonna have to, jump through their hoops, and there's nothing I can do about it. So that one, to me, was a little, but yeah, most of them have understood, once I talked to them, and they're like, okay. Like the fella that he was selling, he called me and said, well, okay, so if I'm understanding the zoning ordinance correctly, I'll have to sell 2.5 acres. I'm like, yes, that would be prudent if they're wanting to put a home on it, unless you're just doing cattle. But, so he knew that.
Question, I don't know how long you talked to him. If he annexed all his property in, would that exclude the county from making him jump through the hoops?
Well,
Not
he
for
was
replatting.
wanting.
We gave them that right.
We didn't give him
No, we
anything.
haven't given them anything. But
We haven't
he
signed
did
it
annex
yet.
in, but
Oh,
he was
that's
needing to
one
sell
of
it
those
right away, and he
we haven't
had a
signed.
buyer, so like
That's
there
right.
wasn't a lot of time to
Right.
do that. But yeah, if anyone wanted to avoid those subdivision regulations, they could just voluntarily annex in, and then we don't have that, so that's an idea. to do that. But he didn't have time. He already had a buyer lined up and everything.
No, it doesn't sound like Tara's gonna be the building, official, and that's it.
I'm answering questions the best I can, and if they need a letter for the septic, I'm providing that. So, all right. So Shelley Smith,
I'll pass.
Kevin Sinkovich. Okay. All right. General public comments. Shelley Smith.
No, I'll pass.
Okay. Kevin Sinkovich. Jack Sinkovich.
No, pass.
Okay. All right, time is 8:45. Meeting adjourned.